The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, January 7th, 2018, season 14, episode number 108. Welcome to another edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and we got an hour with you guys today. We're going to break down this Cowboys big win for a full hour. About 57.
Are we doing an hour for the playoffs now?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just Monday.
It's just Monday. That's what we do on Mondays. We're talking about the Cowboys' big win. Cowboys get the win, their first playoff win of the postseason this year. Hopefully that continues. They win and beat the Seattle Seahawks 24-22 in a game that, although the score was really close, I don't know that the game was as close as that toward the end. I kind of felt at the end like, okay, Cowboys kind of have control of this game. Got a little nervous there for a second, but pretty much the Cowboys played the kind of game that they need to play. Let's go around the table. Let's get some big picture views of what your thoughts are coming out of this game. Dave, let's start with you.
Oh boy, put me on the spot. That's the blueprint right there, isn't it? Like everything that this team does well and needs to do well in order to win games, that's what they did. Kind of soured on how bad they were on defense at the end there. I mean, to give up such an easy drive after being so dominant. I mean, if they play on their screws that last possession, you're talking about Seattle probably having less than 250 yards of offense. That's amazing. So sucks that, just an uncharacteristic break in coverage on the Tyler Lockett play to get them down into the red zone. But other than that, the defense was dominant. They were physical. The run game was clicking, and then Dak was Dak. Love him or hate him, he shows up when it's crunch time and makes a play, and he gets his first playoff win. So that's the run game, the quarterback being clutch in spite of his warts, and I can't say enough about the defense. Even with, this is my favorite stat, even with the 75-yard touchdown drive at the end of the game, Seattle did not crack 300 yards of offense. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's it.
Amber.
Well, as far as the offense goes, when this game started, I was pretty excited by what I was seeing. The fact that they were getting a lot of guys involved in the game and it was working out. Obviously, the Allen Hurns injury happened and then it kind of died down a little bit. But I thought that they did a nice job just kind of getting the running game, the passing game, allowing Dak to run a few times. I think that worked out well. They were able to move the ball, and that hasn't necessarily been the problems for the Cowboys moving the ball. It's just once they get into that red zone area that it becomes a problem. But again, the defense at the beginning of the game, the way they were able to hold down the Seattle offense and Russell Wilson, to me, that was amazing. It wasn't a great game towards the end of the game, but as far as how it started out, they did more than enough, and that's the kind of balance you want on your team. Defense to be able to do that, and then what?
How long into the game did it take the Seahawks to get their first down?
Fourth possession.
That's insane.
First three possessions were 3 and out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Amazing. No, it's amazing. And the defense started kind of slowing down a little bit towards the end, allowing some big plays. But overall, when you get that kind of balance from your offense as well, that's what makes the game great. And that's what gets you those kinds of wins.
Yep. Nick?
I just thought the defense was amazing, really throughout the game. I mean, every time that it seemed like the Cowboys were struggling on offense or put them in a bad situation, they managed to get out of it. I know that they had a short field a couple of times and a long kickoff return. They don't score anything off of that. They just never buckled. And after that interception and the pass to Noah Brown, here they are. There's Seattle's got the momentum, and the Cowboys push them backwards. Penalties, hurt them, but still, they went backwards there. And so I thought every time the offense was kind of struggling, the defense picked them up. It's like they've done all year long. And then it put them in a position, and then Dak and Zeke go and win it. But it's the defense that did it again.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of my point. I remember, and Twitter, and I do it too. You're just firing off your thoughts in the moment. Most people aren't taking the time to really think about it. But how many people were like mad about what that game looked like as it was going? Like, oh, it shouldn't have been that close. Like, well, probably not. But like, that's this team. Like, that's what you should expect from this team by now. That's the blueprint for success, and that's what all of their games are probably going to have to look like, whether the season ends on Saturday or they go all the way to the Super Bowl. Like, the defense carries the load. The running game has to click for the offense to have success. They're not going to hit on all cylinders. They haven't really. Have they hit on all cylinders across the board, offense and defense, once this season?
It.
There you go.
And Jacksonville's Jacksonville.
Against a team that won 4 or 5 games and quit on their coach in November. So it's probably not going to happen, is my point. And so maybe it wasn't even ugly, but you get my point. This is a gritty, defense first, grinded out, inconsistent team. And that's how they're going to win games. And it worked pretty much perfectly on Saturday.
It was funny. Everybody that was complaining about what that game looked like, it was bad football. I'm like, well, wait till Sunday. I mean, get to Sunday, and if you think that's bad, I don't think playoff football is bad.
That's what playoff football is.
That's what it is. I mean, it comes down to it. I mean, field goals matter, and sometimes you miss them. Even though you hit everything in the world, you still miss a field goal.
Not only that, but if you notice what you saw in playoff football, and this is not just this year, it's many years, what you see a lot of times is that teams kind of fill each other out early, and the game kind of stays low scoring there early, and then teams start kind of getting going, and you'll see more scoring as the game goes on, third and fourth quarter. You saw that in a few games this weekend. But I think that's the thing you have to remember here is, and we talked about this a lot last week, this defense that the Cowboys are playing, this was not some cupcake defense. Like, they got players too. And the same things you say about the Cowboys and where they have strengths, those are the same kind of strengths that they were facing in that Seattle defense. They got linebackers that can run side to side. Nick, I remember us talking during the game, like, you're not going to run wide on them very often because those linebackers can get there. They're not going to give you much there. They got a secondary that does what it needs to do, and they got some studs up there in the front. So, I mean, that defense is a formidable defense. So I don't know if I necessarily was thinking Cowboys are squandering opportunities as much as I was thinking right now this is a defensive struggle, and the Cowboys are going to have to figure out ways to manufacture points.
100%. And that, like I said, it's the heat of the moment. You're invested, but I'm like, why are you frustrated? This is how it's been all year. And yeah, those guys get paid too. You're just not magically going to score 40 points in the toughest game of the year.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Dak Prescott specifically.
I was about to talk about Dak, and I thought you might be.
Dakota!
Look at some of his stat line. He was 22 of 33, 67% completion rate, 226 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Quarterback rating was 83.6. Not great, but I thought the point that was most important and most interesting to me was at 6 carries for 29 yards, including the touchdown. And that run the 16-yard run that got them down close there on, I guess it would be first and goal there at the one. That, to me, was the play of the game offensively because that's how the Cowboys have to win if they're going to win.
That's what Zeke's talking about. He's talking about that play when he called him a grown-ass man because that's what that was. I mean, that was just – it reminded me, honestly, of Marion Barber sometimes of, like, I'm here, and I need to get to there, and I don't give a crap who's in my way. I'm going to just run over people or run through you or flip around. I don't care. I got to get over there. And that's what he does. He figures it out. He figures things out. First pass, I'm going to throw it to Gallup. I hit somebody in the sweets. Second time, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to throw a touchdown. He just figures it out.
Which could have been really bad had he missed that again.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody would be talking crap. I was like, why would you do that again?
Except for those two guys in the suite or whoever caught it. I mean, that first throw was horrible.
It was.
He throws
well, it's, and the fade and the back shoulder ball. Not that was a back shoulder ball, but those balls haven't been there for him for most of the last 2 seasons.
The pass to Noah Brown was bad.
To dust it off in the playoffs and have it drop in there perfectly was pretty funny.
But the one thing I will say about the pass that was incomplete there, I don't know if you guys saw it, but Brian wrote an article this morning. He was talking about that. He said what he saw back on the film study was that actually they were trying to go to Jarwin, and they actually had Cole trying to pick the linebacker, I think it was KJ Wright, in order to get Jarwin open. That didn't happen. He went around Beasley, so stayed with Jarwin. So when Dak saw Jarwin wasn't open, he just basically took a shot downfield, and that's how you end up with that play and that result. So in that circumstance, I'm a little, because I was one of the people that was like, why would you do that on 3rd and 2? Mm-hmm. There's no reason to do that on 3rd and 2. But when you see it from that perspective, maybe the thought was that was a play they felt pretty good was going to be open in there. It wasn't, and he just took a shot just because that's where you
that's the difference. His shots aren't very good.
Right.
Because his shots, he doesn't give his receivers a chance all the time. It's been like trained in his head. Don't throw an interception. So try to throw it, away and all that stuff. And some of his passes are just too far away. But the interception he threw to Noah Brown, I mean, to me, that one is on him. I mean, because Noah Brown is running free from the linebacker. You got a lot of space out there, and he just didn't get it out there. And, yeah, it looked like it was interference, but Cooper will get that call. He did get that call. Beasley and Gallup get that call. Noah Brown is not going to get it, and it's a bang-bang play, and the guy made a
But you know what? At the end of the game, he did so much throughout the game that by the end of it, when I was looking at the stat, I had completely forgotten that he threw an interception. I I was like, oh, yeah, he did. I did.
I didn't forget.
This guy didn't forget. He was like, you want to put him third overall? He threw a red zone pick.
He did.
He did.
You can, and that's
fortunately it worked out.
That is but that's Dak Prescott, and it frustrates me that people try to it's got to be one or the other. It can't be everything. Like he'll throw that ball. His accuracy is not his forte, and consistency with his mechanics and reading all of those are valid criticisms. But 3rd and 14 with the divisional round on the line, he's just going to bowl his way to the end zone and say, kiss my butt, y'all are going home. And then his whole team is going to mob him on the sideline, and 5-time All-Pro Zach Martin is going to say, there's nobody else I'd rather have as my quarterback. And if you don't think that's important, you're dumb. Sorry. So it's everything. He's got a lot of developing to do as a passer, but he is a hell of a clutch dude and makes plays aplenty for all of his shortcomings.
Yep.
All
right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Zeke Elliott. His stat line: 26 carries for 137 yards, 5.3 average, and a touchdown. He also had 4 receptions for 32 yards. And I thought the most interesting thing here was not just how well he played, but how well this offensive line played overall. You look at the offensive line, they only allowed 1 sack, which for this team is a huge improvement. They were regularly giving up 4 or 5 sacks per game. Dak only got hit 4 times. And then they were able to allow the Cowboys to rush as a team for 164 yards with a 4.8 average. Talk about the offensive line and how they performed, particularly with Connor Williams in the game. We talked a lot last week about the challenges there and what this could mean for him as far as having to go up against a pretty stout Seattle front. What did you think of this offensive line?
Well, I thought like you said, everything there. I mean, they didn't give up sacks. They didn't really get hit. They kept them off balance. They were balanced. That was the key. I mean, they were able to run when they needed to. They were able to pass. That was kind of what the blueprint of this team is. And I thought Zeke, he really did a nice job all game, kind of taking what was there, kind of dipping underneath some things. He gets so many. I hate to sound like Garrett. He gets so many dirty yards though. That's what he does. And then every once in a while he can go back to high school and just I'm just gonna bounce it to the outside and just go for 45 yards.
There was nobody there.
Sure, in high school he probably scored, but he still though you don't really get to do that in the NFL that much. So all in all, I thought he was great. I thought the line was better.
I thought probably the best game that the line has played all year. Probably.
Especially against that front.
Dak had a clean pocket, and we knew they could run because this same line opened it up for 127 in Seattle. So I had a feeling they'd be able to run. But Dak had a clean pocket more often than not. He got sacked once, and if you go back and look, it was a stunt, Connor Williams is a rookie who hasn't played in 6 weeks. You never want to excuse it, but it's not like guys were just getting beat head up. They ran a stunt to free a rusher up, and that's how they got him. And other than that, like I said, it wasn't just that he didn't get sacked. 4 hits, and what 32 attempts?
Yeah.
So 4 times in 32 attempts that they got to him. I thought he had a remarkably clean pocket. Frank Clark gave Tyron trouble in Seattle. I didn't really see that this time around. I thought they were great. And again, 164 yards as a team? And it's cliche. And I know the Seahawks fan base is killing Pete Carroll right now, and rightfully so, in my opinion.
We'll get to that, yeah.
But it's hard because there's a fine line between you want to establish the run, and the Cowboys showed exactly why. Zeke wasn't gashing them by any stretch of the imagination, but 5, 6, 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, you start seeing things that would have gone for 3 yards go for 9 yards, and that matters. So I get why teams want to establish the run, but if I was Seattle, I would have given up on it way sooner than they did.
Not to go too far into Rams talk, which we will be doing later in the week, but do you think at this point Connor Williams has made a good argument as to why, regardless of what the status health-wise of Su'a-Filo might be, that he should be the guy that starts this week?
Yes, he's made a good argument. We'll take
you're
that
gonna sit him
argument. We'll put it right here. Thank you for your argument. I'm glad that you're making a good argument. I'm glad. I'm glad it's not just simple.
Sounds like
no
parenting.
way. Yeah,
that was a great argument, son.
Yeah,
now
I can see why you would like to stay out till 2. I get it. It's still midnight. Right. I'm not there yet. You're getting there, but no. I mean, I just think Su'a-Filo's better, and I want him out there for Sue and Donald.
That's God,
mainly Donald.
What that's which this is going to sound defeatist, and I'm sorry, but like, does it matter? Does it matter? This Aaron Donald, I mean, so Su'a-Filo is stronger, but Connor is probably more athletic. Donald's both. Like, he's just a super strong, super fast freak. He's got 20 sacks from a tackle spot. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
But I will say this:
why they get
when we saw Su'a-Filo have his first, I think it was in his first start,
played really well against Fletcher Cox.
But that's Fletcher Cox, who is probably second or third best defensive. Now, Aaron Donald's on a whole different level than anybody else.
Fletcher Cox is overpoweringly strong. Yeah. I don't think of him as being particularly quick. Aaron Donald moves like an end, even though he's 5'10".
Sometimes he lines up at it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if it was pure power, I like the thought of Xavier Su'a-Filo working against Sue.
Yeah,
but Aaron Donald's so fast.
Well, let's wait and see how that ankle is doing first.
Well, that's a good point.
That is, you really want him at 100%, right?
Yeah.
You don't even want to take a guy at 80% against this guy because he will embarrass you.
Well, and the amazing thing that this O-line has been able to do, and especially this game, like, I didn't notice anything. And when I don't notice anything, that's a good thing. Like, now I'm saying it on the O-line because then you're not. Also, penalties. That was another thing that they were able
pretty
to.
Clean.
Yeah, pretty clean.
How many did they have? There were a couple, though, weren't there? There was a holding
from
flag
the offensive line.
I thought there was at least
not
one.
what we used to see.
No, yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't anything close to what we've been seeing in recent times, I guess.
Yeah, which was good. So. And another thing, considering all the guys that they've been getting out and in, like changing and switching around in the O-line because of guys getting hurt, and the fact that they've been able to maintain it. And although Dak, yes, we've seen him getting hit plenty of time this season, but to see where they're at right now and what they've accomplished so far, I'm pretty proud of that group.
Yeah, I think it was time well used to put to give Zeke, Tyron and Zach all time off last week, because I think that Zeke, to me, he looked, and you and I talked about this in the press box during the game, he looked a little quicker to me than he had looked down the stretch of the season. I think it makes a big difference, especially for a running back who takes hits almost every play, to be able to give him a week to be able to get his legs back, to be able to not be hit for a week. I think that makes a difference. And I think those three guys played like they'd had a little bit of time to rest.
Yeah, and I mean, I think being in the playoffs, will help with that as well. And the atmosphere, I mean, I don't know if you're going to get into that at all, but I think one thing that probably needs to be, just put way aside and is really over is that AT&T Stadium is not a great place to play. It's not a home field advantage, because it is a home field advantage for this team. That crowd deserves a lot of praise for what they were able to do. The whole production of everything, the whiteout and all that. I was a little skeptical of that. It looked like a college type of thing. It was whatever it was. They were great. They've been great at home all year long. And you pointed out yesterday on Twitter, I mean, the only team to win at home this weekend. I just think, and was it Pete Carroll that said this? It's almost like a concert over there. It's not really. He said.
Well, what he said was, it's interesting because you come out of the locker room and you feel like you're at a stadium about to play a football game. Then you go through the club, and he's talking about literally the club.
Yeah.
But he was talking about the actual nightclub. He said you go through there, and then you're like, am I at a football game? And then you go out of there, and you're back in a football environment. So he said it's just kind of different. It's a different environment.
It's definitely different.
And it's taken a while to get there. I mean, this crowd hasn't always been a great crowd.
But they've always been, at least in my experience, they've always been a good playoff crowd. You think about the big playoff games that have happened here.
Yeah.
They go crazy for the playoff game.
Bar none, it was the best AT&T's been. And I missed the first 3 years that AT&T was open, but seeing as how there wasn't a whole lot of success in those years, I feel confident saying that was the best AT&T Stadium crowd ever for a Cowboys game.
And it helps that those 2 wins that they've had, Detroit and now Seattle, is that's not really a strong road game presence. You know, Green Bay did have some.
I will say, which
You'll see some Saturday.
the Lions game and the Packers game definitely were great environments too. The regular
That's playoff football.
The regular season has always been the bugaboo for these guys, and that will continue to happen, I think.
But
because AT&T is a
Philadelphia
destination
games this year. I mean, there were some games this year down the stretch that I really think this crowd really helped.
for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
And I've said it really since 1987 when the Minnesota Twins did it in the World Series. You give them a little white flags. It's about
Towels
worth
make a
6
difference.
points.
They go crazy.
You
with the
know,
towels.
I judge a lot by the sound of the crowd. Like, I know if the Cowboys made a play or if the opposing team made a play when you hear the different levels of the crowd. This time around, like, I would not have any idea, because if I'm looking down and then I see or expect to hear something to see or hear whether Seattle made a play or not, I would not know. Like, I would have to watch the replay to make sure, oh yeah, that was a catch or that was a touchdown. There was no noise. Like, when Seattle made a play, there was no noise. Like, I'm talking about how powerful the Dallas crowd was and how they literally took over the whole AT&T Stadium.
I thought
There was no roar from
Nothing.
the opposing team.
Yeah, nothing.
Because usually you'll even hear that, even if it's not a huge number of fans,
it's
you'll
a
still
little
hear that
lower,
little roar.
but
Yeah.
you hear it.
This is something I did hear, and I could kind of see it when Alan Hearns was laying down there.
Yeah.
You could hear something weird from the crowd. It was a different type of noise, and I remember looking, and we're way up there. I just remember thinking, something's not looking right. The feet don't look like you normally would, and that's the end of anything I've ever seen about Alan Hearns' play, because I'm not looking at it. I don't even know. So
Real quick before we go to break, just give us an update on what we know, I guess, at this point, what his status is. I know you had surgery, but where is he right now and what's happening?
You know what's really fun about the social media age is, like, you can just get updates without trying to. Like, I was tweeting about Hearns from Saturday, and his mom came and found my tweet and she was like, he's home.
Mrs. Hearns?
Yeah, Mrs. Hearns. Shout out. She's probably listening to this if I had to guess. And shout out. Hope Alan's doing better.
Mrs. Hearns?
But so she tweeted me yesterday and was like, he's home. Surgery went well. He's on the road to recovery. And I was like, well, thank you for the update. I appreciate that.
A really touching moment on Twitter as well. One of a fan. I don't know if was this the kid who he'd done something with. Whatever.
I don't
there
know
was
off
a
the
kid.
top of my head,
there was a kid on Twitter who just basically was, kind of really distraught
Wrote a
about
letter
the
to
fact,
him.
and then wrote a letter to him, told him he'd been praying for him, and then
Four times.
4 times, yes, 4 times.
4 times for you.
And prayer works. And then he went back and sent that information over to, or that information got sent to Alan, and then Alan reached out to him, and they showed some pictures of them having a FaceTime.
Yeah.
Where Alan was talking to him, telling him, assuring him.
We'll have a story on that later on our Cowboys.
So really cool stuff, though. Really cool stuff. A really cool moment that came out of a very gruesome moment for the Cowboys and for Alan Hearns.
He does appear to be doing well, and assuming there are no setbacks, is hopeful that he'll be ready for August.
I mean,
It's huge. That's a big deal for him because this contract's not guaranteed next year. I mean, that's a big deal for him. It really is a big deal.
And just it was really a touching moment. A lot of things that you saw there. I give a lot of credit to the Seahawks as well. Classy. I thought they were super classy. I don't even know if they know Alan Hearns that well or not, but everyone knows those situations, and they were there. Just about every one of their teammates went over there, and just seeing Garrett and him, just with that, just locked, with their hands like that. You can say what you want about Jason, but he absolutely cares about his guys, probably more than a lot of head coaches do. And it's moments like that that's evident. Just seeing the tears down his face, it was a really intense scene.
Yeah, it was an emotional moment.
And that's twice the Cowboys and their opponents have had to deal with that pretty early in the game with Crawford going down, and the same with Hearns. And it's weird because you got to okay, that sucks. Now what? Well, now what is 24x2 blast on 3 ready break? I mean, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
All right, we're good. Go ahead.
Fans too, for that. I remember, obviously it's a gruesome injury. It takes time to get him off the field and then the fans were right back into it as soon as that was over, which that's easier said than done too.
Yep. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, I do want to talk a little bit more about this wide receiver position. There were a few guys that came out of that game a little bit banged up, and I wonder how much that's going to affect the Cowboys going into a game in LA against the Rams. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you're like me and you love... if you have a thing, then cutting the cord is scary. But then I found out I could switch to DirecTV Now and still get the live sports I love. No satellite needed, no bulky hardware, no annual contract, just...
Get the live sports you love. Try DirecTV Now for $10 a month for 3 months. Visit DirecTVNow.com. DirecTV Now. More for your thing. That's our thing. Use code REALDEAL. Limited time. Price for a little package. After 3 months, renews monthly at full price. Currently minimum $40 unless canceled. Prices may change. New subscribers only. Cancel anytime. Content varies by package and may be limited. Restrictions apply.
Do you want the most interesting, up-to-the-minute Dallas Cowboys news straight from the Star in Frisco? How about exclusive and on command? That's right. News and nuggets you can't find anywhere else. With our exclusive Cowboys content on Alexa, you can have all the answers, secrets, stories, and more. What's Stephen Jones thinking during a game? What's Joe Looney's favorite pregame meal? We take your questions to Cowboys players and coaches, and you can hear the answers directly back to you. Just say, Alexa, open Dallas Cowboys.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, alumni, and cheerleaders. That's not all, though. You'll get to talk X's and O's with Senior Director of Player Personnel Will McClay, and of course with yours truly, me, Brian Broaddus. You can trust the official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Playmaker, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The Playmaker includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized Intense Therapy lip balm and a Cowboys can cooler. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word Cowboys. The Jack Black Playmaker, $10, free shipping.
While a player can look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeeredealer.com/football.
Back to the break.
Welcome back. We're in the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, talking about the Cowboys' playoff win versus the Seattle Seahawks this weekend. They'll be facing the Los Angeles Rams. We'll be traveling out there on Friday. Game is on Saturday night. Make sure you stay tuned for that. It should be fun. Let's talk a little bit more about this wide receiver position. I'll start first with Amari Cooper, who had 7 catches for 106 yards. No touchdowns, but a really, really solid night for them. Did exactly what you expect a number one wide receiver to do. Made some big catches for him at critical moments. That all being said, do you think that this offense was at all impacted by the loss of, and not only the loss, but the loss and the hobbling of a couple of wide receivers throughout the game? Because it was pretty early on when Cole Beasley had that catch, and then he ended up having the ankle injury. And then you've got Hearns that goes out. And then even later in the game, you got Tavon Austin, who had some, I don't know if it was a re-aggravation of the groin, but all those things happening. Amber talked about it. It seemed like earlier they were getting the ball to a lot of people. That all kind of came to an end. How much do you think that affected this offense?
I think it did a little bit. But they were all able to kind of come back. Obviously not Hearns, but they were all able to come back and do some things. I thought that Cooper had 2 really big plays in that game. That took him from about the 40 down to the 15 or 10. Now, if they would have overturned that and called that the incomplete pass, very similar to the Dez play, I don't know what would have happened there.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah, but I thought it was the right call. I thought he was making 3 steps. And
yep. That is the new rule now. It's 3 steps. If you have the ball for 3 steps, that's officially a catch.
We're getting into so deep into the semantics, but I know the ball moved when he hit the ground, but it didn't look like he lost control of it to me. He still looked like he had 2 hands on it. And of course it's going to move when you're running full speed and you fall on top of it. So, but I don't think he lost control, and obviously the refs agree.
And the point is, it didn't matter.
Didn't
If he already
matter
had
'cause
three
he
steps.
was
Then he
runner.
had 3 steps, and at that point, he's a runner.
Yeah,
it's true.
But then again, it happens, in the game yesterday, in the Bears game, when that was a really weird play, But anyways, to get up to your point, I thought the receivers, they were having some setbacks, but they were fine, and they were still, the guy they were trying to target the most was healthy. I mean, Noah Brown was definitely healthy.
I
don't get it.
Shot.
I just don't understand it. I'm sorry. I like him.
He actually, just for the record, he was 4th in targets.
And had 1 catch.
They targeted Cooper, Zeke, and Gallup more than him.
Here's my thing about Noah Brown.
I wish I could do Mickey's voice because it would be hilarious.
You were calling him out.
Well, he kept talking about him. He'll be like, "Why is he still in there?" And then he would go back down to writing his notes and look back up, and then realize Noah was in there. He's like, "He's back in there," and it was hilarious.
Yes, Mickey Hearns is hurt, like he has to play, but Mickey will sit in the press box and he's got his headphones on, and he still kind of forgets how loud he is.
He doesn't really. That's the thing about headphones. When you have on headphones, you don't know how loud you are.
Yeah,
I don't. Does he forget, or does he just not care?
Maybe a little bit of both. But I think the headphones don't help, right?
But my thing about Noah Brown, and Jason always says this, Garrett says this about rookies and young players, is that, he did a nice job. He went in there, the moment didn't seem to be too big for him. I think the moment is too big for him right now. I really believe what they want him to do and the type of player they want him to be, I don't think he's there yet. And I think they're asking too much of him. Yes, he's a big-bodied guy, but that doesn't mean he can block everybody. Well, somebody knocked him down. He was trying to block. He gets knocked down, and he's just not there yet. I think he will be. I just don't understand if there's a clause in their contracts, if he catches touchdowns or whatever. It just seems weird that they're really forcing the ball to him.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that I'm the president of the Noah Brown fan club, but
still,
yeah. Okay. I mean, he hasn't cost them any games, has he? I mean, it's not terrible.
But you can see that it's a little puzzling.
I don't blame Noah Brown. It's the same thing we always say is like, they outthink themselves in those types of situations. They're like, nobody will ever see this coming. We're not.
They will now.
We're not going to give it to. Wait. Oh, we should throw it to Cooper.
Twirling his pencil.
We should throw it to Cooper. That's exactly what they want us to do. Well, then we should give it to Zeke. That's exactly what they want us to do.
What do you suggest?
Well, how about Noah Brown? Like, we'll just sneak him through the trash. Which that's what that play was like. It reminded me of the Lucky Whitehead play in Green Bay. It's like, but it didn't work. They're just like, well, he's going to engage for a minute, and then we'll sneak him through the trash, and it'll be right there. And like, it's great in theory, but maybe lean on the guys who you pay. And
I'm all for. Let's be clear too. I'm all for the idea of being creative, because the moment they're not creative is the moment all of us and all the fans out there want to talk about how uncreative they are calling plays. So I get it. I think you should throw some different things out there. It just is puzzling to me the amount that he ends up being on the receiving end of catches when he's just not been, to this point, he has not been a productive receiver for them.
Not only
that. I wonder how he's been at practice. Like, obviously they practice all these plays. I wonder how he's been doing in practice.
I guess that he's probably doing pretty well, and they're probably thinking,
and then go out there.
We can use this. Like, this is something we can use in the game. It just hasn't translated.
Because there are players like that they're great at practice, and then you throw them in the game when the lights come on, and it just does not. It just disappears.
And the flips. I mean, it's the same. It's the same story. It's like, well, it was there, and they didn't execute. So, I mean, he should have had a touchdown against Washington too, but. Over a long enough period of time, a large enough sample size, and you're like, well, maybe that's part of why it's not hitting. Right. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not a high percentage play for the quarterback that's throwing it and the receiver.
Yeah.
I am not a football coach, but if it were up to if I was trying to get Noah Brown involved, I would be putting him out on the boundary and throwing jump balls to him. Like, throw the red zone fade to Noah Brown, because he's gonna bully the DB out of the way, and I know he's got high point ability. I know he hasn't showed it here, but that's what I would do anyway.
Well, at least we're finding out, at least right now, that and I think I said maybe he's a tight end type of guy. No, he's not there yet, because he gets knocked around. Now, you said bully these corners, probably, but when it comes to the linebackers and stuff, He's the one that's getting bullied. So he's not ready to kind of mix it up with that. KJ Wright, what an outstanding player he was.
Also,
he was great.
He's a stud too. Like, let's not. Yeah,
he is a great player. Yeah.
Where is he from? Is he a Texas guy?
KJ Wright?
I don't know.
I don't know. Wagner went to Utah State.
He's awesome. Like, just to make that play, just to like be running with the wide receiver and to, he hit him early.
They missed him not being there for a good part of the season. But
that's right. He's a Mississippi State guy. I forgot that. Yeah.
So
if he didn't,
Dak was just throwing it.
He was helping him out. Yeah.
There you go.
If he didn't play next to Bobby Wagner, he'd get so much more credit for how good he is.
But as a tandem, probably the best 2 or 3 in the league, I would guess.
Them, Carolina. Yeah, I mean,
want to throw these guys in there?
Dallas is coming on, but
talking about inside linebackers.
I'm just saying tandem linebacker tandems.
I phrase it this way.
I think these two are better than those two.
You think?
I think.
I was about to say I don't know if they're there yet. If they're close,
I have figured out. I have figured out a great way to qualify it. Mm-hmm. Dallas's guys are the most athletic duo in the entire league, and that counts for a lot.
Yep.
I'll take Wagner and Wright have just been through the wars and seen some things, and I trust their instincts and their experience a little bit more. But Jalen and Leighton they're freaks. Yeah. They don't know as much about the position as Kuechly and Davis or Wagner and Wright, but they can make plays.
They're getting
those
there,
guys can.
and they will be there very quickly, very shortly.
The thing about that is calling those guys, and they have the freakish talent. But I will say this: they tackle well. They really do. It's not just guys that are running around. I mean, that's the impressive thing about Jalen and Van Der Esch. And I remember when Rolando McClain was doing it. You don't have to wait for the guy to tell us on, of who made the play. You may not even know who that is anyways, but you know exactly who's, the tackle is just by looking from where we are. We're like, oh, wow. Like, he got hit at the 25 and the ball's now in the 25.
Yeah, he didn't go another yard.
Doesn't go any more yards when Van Der Esch and Jalen hit him.
I said that on Saturday night, and Jalen Smith he's a name searcher on Twitter because he'll find the stuff I tweet during a game and like it afterward, which I would do the same thing. It's fine. But
Jalen, when he made that tackle and he went out of bounds, and it was a good play, and I was like, is he going to swipe it on the side? No, we got to get back to the middle of the field.
Sure, yeah. He is a promoter. He's a promoter.
Is definitely a promoter.
That's all right.
No,
back it up on the field. I'm all good with that.
When you hit like a sack of bricks, that's what I was just like, it is absolutely terrifying to watch him tackle from field level. Like, as physical as it looks on TV, it is downright scary when it's happening 10 or 20 feet away from you.
And the sound.
Yeah.
The sound effect. Ugh. I do not like it.
Real quick before we wrap up the conversation on wide receivers, you think the Cowboys this week are going to have to do something in order to shore up that unit? Because you got Austin, you got Beasley, you got Hearns. All at least will probably be on the injury report this week. Hearns definitely out. You think they need to make a move?
I don't think they need to make a move right now because Lance Lenoir's here. They have.
Well, do you think that they're going to move him up? I guess I
wouldn't be surprised. I'm spitballing here. Don't hold me to it, but I think Tavon and Beasley will play. They finished the game, so that's a good sign that they should be able to go.
Right.
Is there a free agent, guy out there that and we talked about before the show, a guy like a Deontay Thompson or somebody like that has been here that knows the offense. With
how
29,
much would that really help though?
Well, how much is Lenore going to help? I'm just saying,
but at least he has. Dak. It takes him a while, and the connection with receivers.
Well,
has been a problem.
Say you have another injury. Let's say somebody goes down. Who do you want to run around there? Do you want Thompson or do you want Lenore? And if you didn't have 29, why can't I remember his name? CJ Goodwin. If you didn't have him, then I could definitely say you go with Lenore and he plays special teams, but I don't know how much of a role he'd have on special teams.
Yeah. Bringing in a guy at this point is not so much about this week as much as it is if you keep winning and let's say, for example, you sustain another injury, who is the guy that's going to be the guy that's farther down the line that now has to play a little bit more of a role? And I think that's where you have to think about, do you want Lenore?
I'm sorry. My mentality was not big picture here. But thank you for bringing me back in.
I'm surprised.
I was thinking of just this week.
That yours is because, none of us have gone this far, after this game. But further than that,
we have not, and we've now done this for 20 years, and we've not gone beyond this round that's coming up.
We haven't. We haven't been able to say those words that.
How does that feel?
Sucks. I want to say it.
Yeah, I hate it.
I don't even know what movie that's from, but it's from a movie, and I want to be able to say it.
Yeah, I want to get to an NFC Championship game.
We're going to the ship.
Super Bowl. I know. Yeah, I just want to.
I don't think it's from a movie. I just think it's. But
I want to see what it
is
feels
from
like,
a movie.
You know? So, but I will say this: you look at these playoffs, and we've said this at the beginning of the playoffs. This is not a situation where there is one team that you're like, oh, they're definitely going to the Super Bowl. There is no team like that right now. And the interesting thing, somebody pointed this out on Twitter yesterday. The Cowboys beat the team that the Eagles are going to have to play this week. The Eagles beat the team that the Cowboys are going to have to play this week. So there's a lot of mixing up of these teams, and there's enough there to make you think that you don't know what's going to happen this weekend when these teams match up. Anything could happen. I would not be surprised with any particular outcome.
You know, I think that you saw probably of the 4 hottest teams in the NFL going into the playoffs. Colts definitely number 1, and they're the team that the only team that's beaten Dallas, and they destroyed them. You know, they're the hottest team for sure.
Yeah.
Dallas is right up there. Philadelphia is super hot, and Dallas is the team that beat them.
Yep.
And you know, and I think Baltimore, you would say, was pretty hot too, and then they got cooled off quick. But you know, it just shows that you know you can be hot going into the playoffs, and so far it seems like it's carried over for the most part.
All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about this defense, and then we'll also talk about, just for a brief moment, we'll start touching on Cowboys versus Rams. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
While a player can look good on paper, it's when he's out on the field that you really find out what he's made of. That's why the Cowboys rely on more than just stats and scouting reports when building their team. When picking a tractor, it's why you should rely on more than just specs and features. You've got to take it out and put it to the test. The Cowboys did when they named John Deere their official tractor. Experience one for yourself. Visit myjohndeeredealer.com/football.
It's time for Tailgate with the OtterBox boys.
OtterBox? The makers of those crazy protective phone cases?
The one and only. They're also wild about protecting parking lot parties from sad drinks. It's why they made elevation tumblers.
Rumor around the crockpot is they're made from stainless steel with a copper lining to keep temps hot or cold.
True. They even come in 7 different sizes, up to 64 ounce, the growler.
I like how OtterBox drinks. I mean, thanks.
And that's been Tailgating with the OtterBox boys. Check out all the colors and sizes of their elevation tumblers at otterbox.com.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Playmaker, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The Playmaker includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized Intense Therapy lip balm and a Cowboys can cooler. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word Cowboys. The Jack Black Playmaker, $10, free shipping.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, alumni, and cheerleaders. That's not all, though. You'll get to talk X's and O's with Senior Director of Player Personnel Will McClay, and of course with yours truly, me, Brian Broaddus. You can trust the official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
A man's Stetson doesn't just protect him from life's elements. It projects an unstoppable and legendary spirit, just like the men wearing silver and navy on the field every Sunday. Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. They are still the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find Stetson hats in the Pro Shop or at Stetson.com today.
Back to the break.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage.
We should
Studios
just
at Star.
we should just take that to the air, because I guarantee you, Cowboys fans feel similarly.
That was actually going to be the second part of this, but let's just go and jump right into it. I mean, we were talking about the matchup as you're watching the game yesterday, and I know I tweeted about it. I went into the game wanting Philadelphia to win that game, mainly because, for me at least, it keeps the hope alive. And I know this is a remote hope, but it is a hope that the Cowboys could actually, if they can win, and then if by some chance Philly wins as well, Cowboys would be hosting an NFC championship game. And Nick, you and I are just talking about how we've never even experienced that. To be able to experience that at the home stadium, I think that's great. And I think the Cowboys' best shot of winning that championship game and going to the Super Bowl will be playing it at home because that's where they've been dominant this year. So it wasn't so much about avoiding the Saints because I think the Rams are a formidable opponent as well. We'll talk about that later in the week when we start talking about Aaron Donald. But the fact of the matter still is I think being able to have a chance at a home playoff game for the NFC Championship, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
The list of reasons to root for the Eagles yesterday was like 2 miles long, and the list of reasons to root for the Bears was just, you don't like the Eagles. Like, that's it. That's it.
And that's a big one.
Which, you're right.
That is a big one.
The Rams are a formidable opponent, but I think they are a better matchup for the Cowboys. I know the L.A. Coliseum will have more Cowboys fans in it than the Superdome will.
True.
And it keeps your chances of hosting a championship game alive, which I hear Nick's argument that sounds like a terrifying proposition, is playing one of your oldest and most hated rivals in the
to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that sounds
at your house.
You know what though? It sounds a hell of a lot better than having to go down there.
If
having to
the
go down to
Cowboys
New
beat
Orleans
them,
and play
though,
that game
how
there.
sweet would that be?
Yes.
Oh my
absolutely.
God.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Yes,
I
it
am
is a risk.
Maybe I'm definitely a glass half empty person.
You are.
Maybe I am. Because I just look at it like,
Does the
is there at this point you really can't have a bad season. It's not going to be a bad season.
Unless
you lose to the Rams, it's not a bad season. You lose to the Saints in the championship game, it's not a bad season. If you host the NFC championship game and you lose to the Eagles and they are sitting in your 50-yard line with the ropes and stuff and they're holding the trophy and all that.
And then the next 2 weeks you see them in Atlanta.
Well, they had a good year. Yeah, they had a good year until Linehan threw it to Noah Brown in the NFC Championship game. It got picked off by Jenkins.
And the Eagles are celebrating their second.
Oh, that was. You're right. I mean, that would be horrible.
No.
That would be horrible.
All I'm saying is I think I'd rather go to the Superdome.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's all worth going to the Superdome. Because the one
Maybe
thing you
not.
say, the Cowboys have played really well at home this year. So I'll take my chances on that one.
Does the,
pray
does-
that they don't end up losing that game if they get there.
Does 07 color your
Probably
thought on that at all?
because I stood on the table and was like, you can beat a team 3 times if you're better.
Not
And they
necessarily.
They
weren't
did it to
better.
the Eagles that year. They beat the Eagles 3 times in a season, right?
You know, but
You
this,
absolutely can.
this is just it's
hard.
It's a different
Yeah,
team.
how likely is that to happen?
And it's a different team. I mean,
Yeah.
Foles is just different with them.
Scared money don't make money. Give me the home playoff
Yeah.
game all the time, every time.
Well,
Yep, I'm
how
with you.
scared am I really? I want to go to the Superdome.
That's a good point.
I mean,
yeah.
that's scary.
In other words, what you're saying is they're all scary. All the
Oh,
possibilities
well, I mean,
are
at this,
scary.
you're not. That's
At this point, yes.
That's the flip.
right.
That's the
Yeah.
flip side of it too, and obviously that's what the players are going to say. You know, Marcus Lawrence looked like he was offended when I asked him if he had a preference. He was
Saw
like,
that. I thought he was going to
he
reach up
looked-
and grab you by your throat.
he was mad at
I
me.
had your back, though.
Thank you, appreciate.
Way back. Like,
He was like, "Who cares? Like, we got to go on the road and win." And I'm like, "I know, but there's a difference.
You know,
I mean,
and
not for him. Yeah,
He's
not
the
for
thing
him.
about it
But that's the mentality they
No,
have to have.
Absolutely, but it's not our job.
Right.
It's not our job to have that mentality, and I can say for a fact that one is better than the other.
And it's
so.
and it's one thing if they win, you know, like if you win Sunday or this Saturday night, and you're talking about okay, Eagles play the Saints tomorrow. That's one thing. But when you say it this early and you say I'd rather play the Rams than the Saints, well, guess what? You go beat the Rams. Now you got to play the Saints.
good chance you got to go.
So you got to, you know, you don't want to ever act like you're scared of anybody. It's a little different if you don't have to play them both. You might have to play both of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Hopefully we will.
Yeah, I'd be concerned if the players were saying they were one over the other. Like that's not what they.
No,
should
about us.
for sure.
They should be thinking and that's the point though. Is that's what their coach preaches: is nameless, faceless opponent. Right? Doesn't matter who it is. It's about what we do. Hope they believe it, right? But for everybody else, it's okay for us to be like, I'd rather go here.
nameless, faceless opponent.
Yeah, I do remember that.
In front of a building that's at least 30, if not 50% Cowboys fans, just sounds so much better than 95-5, which is probably the
All right.
split you would get in New Orleans.
Every year we know
Done.
they're out there.
Done. Yeah,
Exactly.
I do not
We
wanna
know
hear
they're
that
there because they come out to training camp.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they go out there and their goal is to watch a little bit of practice and maybe get, you know, Lance Dunbar to sign your hat or something like that. I don't know why I mentioned
Lance.
but I'm just, you know, just
Took
somebody.
it all the way over there.
I mean, just
Dunbar.
hope that they get an autograph and all that stuff. And now you have a chance to really go. I don't know
Make
how
a
much
difference.
it's going to cost. It's probably going to cost a little bit more.
Check this out. Right before Cody Parkey lined up to kick last night, tickets to the Coliseum for the Rams playoff game were $160, and tickets to the Saints game were $285. This morning, Rams tickets are $329 and Saints tickets are $180.
Oh.
Literally, like the Cowboys just grab the market and shift it in whatever direction they want.
That's how they do.
Insane.
That's how they do.
It's going to be lit, as they like to say.
As the children like to say.
In the Coliseum.
You know,
on
I
Saturday night.
was thinking, like, from our standpoint,
Yeah.
we're not really going to be at a good press box either way.
Oh, no.
No, wait. New Orleans press box isn't horrible.
It's
Yes, it is.
worse than horrible.
Oh, I
Yes,
thought you were
it
talking about
is.
the food. I'm sorry.
Not the
No,
food. I'm
the
talking
food's
about
not even that good.
talking about being
Food's better
6
than
miles
going.
high
The
and
food's
air
way better than the Rams. The Rams the worst food in the league.
Yes.
By far.
But
maybe they'll step up in the playoffs.
Good luck with that.
my main, like, at least we'll be warm.
Legends.
That is a good point.
At least we'll be warm.
It is free.
The AC
New Orleans.
the AC hub for the entire Superdome is right next to the press box, and I
And it's
swear to
super
God,
loud
You have to
too,
put your
right?
stuff- Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
40.
well, it's not closed off, so yeah.
Yeah, so you hear everything.
That would be fun though. And maybe we'll get a
Just
chance
kind of
to do
feel the environment and be part of
that. That
the
would be
fan.
fun.
Yeah.
Pet peeve of mine, and I know like very few people agree with me. Like if you cover college football, the vast majority of those press boxes are open.
Really?
And it is so much cooler.
I love it, yeah.
I hate how the press boxes across the NFL are all closed. Like you could tell you've been to enough games, and we go down to the field. Like it was amazing at AT&T, but we would have had such a cooler perspective of it if those windows had been open. Because you got a half inch of like plate glass between you and the crowd. Like so I can lean over to Rob and talk to him very comfortably, which would not be the case if it was open.
Yeah.
Minnesota has that, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So
And it used to be at Minnesota when they were in their old stadium. Not only was it open, but you were down lower, so you were actually within the crowd. So
Yeah.
it was real. I thought those playoff games, oh my gosh, you felt the playoff atmosphere in Minnesota when you were playing there.
It'll be
back in the
good press box in Atlanta though. It will.
That is open, right? Atlanta's open. I'm pretty sure Atlanta's open.
You know what?
no.
Where
It's
we
not?
might be. it
I might be thinking about their old stadium. their
I
old
don't.
stadium.
I don't know. We're just talking here. I don't know where if the 10 of us would actually get to be in the
Yeah, I
press
know, that's a
box
good point.
at the Super Bowl. I don't
They'd
know.
probably split us up, I'm thinking.
I love that's I'm sitting here thinking like we talking about the NFC title game a little too much. Well, I'll just jump.
I
past
just
Jump
that.
right to the
pole
Super
vaulted that.
Hey, that's what
On to
happens
the
when you
Super
haven't
Bowl.
been there in a while. You just get your mind starts. You know, one thing I did think about though this morning, and it was kind of sad. I thought, what if this team really gets on a roll and they get there? I feel for Jason Witten. Like I really would feel for Jason. All the years that he kind of was trying to get over that hump, and then the year he retires, then they get on a roll. That'd be tough. That'd be tough to deal with if you're him, right?
You snooze, you lose. That's what
Yeah.
they say.
Wow, you snooze, you lose.
I don't
Isn't
have
that the
No
saying?
feel.
I don't have
No,
any.
I love Jason. Are you kidding me?
I have no ill will toward him whatsoever.
Yeah.
But he retired on like during the NFL draft. Like, I mean, the offseason program was already underway.
I'm not saying anybody's going to feel sorry for him. I personally would feel a little sorry for him because I know how much that meant to him. And I again know we're way ahead of.
Yeah.
You got a lot of games to play and a lot of games to still win to get there. But I just thought about it. Like I wonder if he's sitting back thinking right now, like, man, this team, they're better than he expected them to be. Because I wonder if they were playing, if he in his mind thought that they were going to be this good, if he would have made that decision. I wonder.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have, but I do wonder.
A lot of things to wonder about in life. I'm just saying.
I mean, what if they're not 3-5 or 3-4? I mean, what if they're 4-3 or whatever? I mean, they still make the trade for Cooper.
Actually,
It's a good point.
They asked Stephen Jones about that after the regular season, after the Giants game, and he's like, we probably would have been more motivated if we'd had a better record because obviously the receivers are still a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you all you need is eyeballs to see that.
Yeah.
And so
I don't
you're
know
like,
if I
well,
believe that though, because of how much they care about the draft, and that's a big pick, your first round pick. So
Yeah, but if you're better, then the pick isn't as good.
But that may also tell you that maybe they didn't even believe in what they were saying publicly about not needing a number one wide receiver.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just at a point where they were like, we need a number one wide receiver. We don't have one. So you don't go out publicly and say, yeah, we need a number one wide receiver, but you don't have one. You
Right.
have to kind of sell it that way. And so maybe the idea was that they always thought they needed one. They just didn't have access to one. And then when he became available, it was like, oh, we don't have to wait until draft and try to draft one and hope that he hits. We can actually go and get one that already is proven he can play in the NFL. And that just kind of.
But had they been doing good at the beginning of the season, good enough, do you feel that they would have that mentality to where it's like, okay, we do need a number one, or can we just keep going and pushing it like we are right now?
That's my point.
We're doing okay.
If they everything we've heard since they've gotten a number one wide receiver kind of flies in the face of them really thinking, legitimately thinking they didn't need a number one. So I think they were just kind of selling what they had to sell at the time. They were going to get a number one at some point, whether it was going to be this year, because they went after a number one this year. I mean, they in the offseason, they were trying to get a number one wide receiver. It didn't work out for them. So they ended up having to get Allen Hurns, which they kind of just painted him into the,
Teams lie to themselves. Well, they don't lie to themselves. They lie to everybody else and then do what they actually want to do a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So,
So I think this is just a situation where it kind of worked out. It fell into their laps. They didn't have to wait till they got to the offseason and draft a number one and draft a first-round wide receiver.
Let me say this, too. I get your point. I know what you're saying. He was a great player here, and he is
we back on Witten?
Was a warrior. Yeah, Jason Witten. But I'll say this, though. I think one of the reasons why he didn't come back is because he didn't believe in the team. He really didn't. I mean, I'm not trying to put him and put words in his mouth, but there's been enough people that have kind of said, that he didn't really think that this team with Garrett and Dak were going to do that. And so that's what Garrett preaches all along about buying in, and it's about us, and no one else thought we would. And I really believe if Jason Witten thought this team would do it, he would have stayed. And so that's kind of on him, because he didn't. I think he was done buying in, and a lot of fans have done the same thing.
Yeah.
He's never said this to me, but he left, and he still thought he could play. I mean, I don't think he thought this team could take it to another.
But that's my point. If that is true, then he still has to be. He would be thinking if they got farther into this playoff, he would be thinking, "Man, did I make a bad decision?"
Yeah.
Although, I hear what you're saying, and I think there's some validity to it. But I mean, if that's really how he felt, then almost good for him too, because that is a hell of a commitment to make if you're not in it.
Right?
No doubt.
If you're not, it's written on all the signs all over this building. Is like, if you're not 100% in, get out. And so obviously, you would love it if Jason Witten was part of this. But if you're turning 36 and you got this offer on the table, and you're like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if I have it in me to care in May just as much as I would in December. Then you probably should retire.
And he couldn't be Gates. Gates is taking a different role. Gates is, especially when Henry comes back for sure. It's a different type of thing. I don't think he could have ever done that. He needed to be on the field all the time. Not even a backup guy, not even the starter, but just the every down starter. Yeah. Didn't even want to rotate. So it was a different thing for him. I'm sure he's probably proud of the team at some point, but maybe he's kicking himself a little bit. But that's I'm not saying anything bad about him thinking that way. Who in this room thought this team would be at this level? I don't know.
Not me. I didn't pick him to make the playoffs. So
I can't remember. Did we pick playoffs?
I think we picked records.
I don't remember.
Playoffs.
I said 9-7, no playoff trip, and that's fine. Hey, they proved me wrong. I can own that. That's cool. Which maybe Jason Witten feels some regret, but thinking about how much work it takes to get ready for a season and all of that, he might be at peace with it. Like, man, that's really great for them, but I didn't.
My body maybe was just done. Like, I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
He was slowing down, so.
Yeah. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll jump right into the Rams tomorrow. Dave will give us a scouting report on the Rams offense. On Wednesday, we'll get to their defense. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Ellman, and Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.